Shalom Aleichem. I wanted to read an excerpt from my book, Emunah in Physics, and then to expand on it a little bit. So I spoke in Dr. Yosef Wolf's amazing YouTube channel about the oneness of the universe, and I encourage you to check out his work. And I'll mention his accomplishment in the time that he was in the field of astrophysics was quite incredible. There are not many physicists who have an accomplishment that's as significant, even in their whole careers. So I just want to point that out for the listeners. So here it says, let us take a journey to the beginning of the universe to determine which is more feasible. As we speed on back, will we find unity or multiplicity? Where we find unity, it is not only a support for a creator, but support for Judaism, which is all about oneness. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. The last words of our lives and how we begin and end each day. Kudsha brichu Yisrael v'oraisa chadhu. Ein od milvado. There is nothing but God. Vayom hahu yeh Hashem Echadu Shmo Echad, from the Aleinu. It is with the single revolutionary belief of oneness that Avraham Avinu transformed the entire world. As we go back in time, the volume of the universe gets smaller and smaller. It approaches a single point. As we go back in time, the entropy of the universe decreases toward zero. That is, one single state for the world to exist in. I'll skip the four forces point. I encourage you to check out the book. It goes into depth into that. Let's look from another angle. We observe a phenomenon called fermion pressure. We see that all electrons in the universe are fundamentally indistinguishable. That is, when we describe an electron, it is only an approximation. To truly describe it, we must include in the calculation every single electron in the universe in a symmetrical way. That is, all the electrons are one entity. They are all intertwined despite there being light years between them. Quantum entanglement experiments verify this. Measuring one particle will instantaneously affect another particle miles and miles away. This occurs despite the fact that nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. Again, oneness. The concept also provides a physical parallel for the oneness of the Jewish people and for the spooky foundational concept of Kol Yisrael misarvin ze lazeh. In 2023, physicists have now discovered entanglement even among non-identical particles. This is another sign of unity, and it supports the idea that all matter in the universe is inseparable. That is, a single universal wave function describes a unified state of all particles. This is a physical parallel for the Torah concept of our actions having a universal effect. It also parallels the concept of shalshelis, that is, our actions propagate up the spiritual world and achieve a certain end. This results in chains of effects coming downward into this world. We have now spoken about many topics: volume, entropy, forces, indistinguishable particles, and quantum entanglement. Each reflects unity and points us toward a single universe. Moreover, the unity of everything in this one universe points us toward a single creator. As stated earlier, finding unity supports Judaism more than all other ideologies because Judaism is all about oneness. At the very least, the universe begs us to ask, who or what tuned its properties so finely? And how can a non-theist ignore these patterns and believe in a colossal, invisible multiplicity of universes? And I go on to address that question and to give responses. And when I mention that unity is a support for Judaism, you'll note that unity is also a support for several other religions. There are a number of religions out of all the religions throughout history in the world. There are other ones that do emphasize oneness, and I think that's an interesting point to mention. And we see in Pirkei Avos that Hashem does allow for reflective people to look at nature, to look at the modesty of a cat, and the way that ants work together, and various things we see in the world to arrive at truth. And I think that's a beautiful thing that as Jews we believe that other nations have the ability to access truth on their own, even without the Torah as guidance, but that the Torah can increase their ability to see the right things and to take out the right messages from the world around them. And another point is that sometimes atheists will say, you bring something as a support for Judaism, and sometimes they'll want to say, like, well, you could also use this as a support for, one or two other religions. And that's not actually a problem. Meaning, it's understandable that Hashem allows in the world for there to be reasons to believe different things. In fact, I think it would be quite naive to assume that amongst all the ideologies, religions, non-religions, that no one's going to have any support for their religion, and I think a person has to be very rigorous and very analytical, and to try to understand where truth is, and to distinguish one item from another. It also mentions, many say that when Abraham sent gifts to the east, that this was the Eastern religions. Some note that a Brahmin sounds like the word Abraham, the priests in Hinduism. And similarly with other Eastern religions, people find certain parallels with Judaism and gifts to the East. Many suggest that this really was truths and practices that Abraham had that he sent to the East as a gift. And it's based on a Rashi, which speaks about, he brings Midrashim. He speaks about the concept of sending hidden names, different ways to connect with the divine. And I might suggest that it wasn't only did Abraham send gifts to the East for the sake of the people he was sending a gift to. Perhaps Abraham was also sending the gift knowing that someday his children would encounter those gifts, and that would bring them back to the Ribono Shel Olam. And I had a personal experience where when I was in high school, there's a book, Siddhartha, that I really connected with. At the time, I said that it was my favorite book. I was sitting down by the water, and I was reading about, this boy looking at a river and realizing he's one with the river and one with everything else. And something about that concept resonated so deeply with me as true, as fundamental, just intellectually resonant. And I think that might be part of what opened me up a little bit to spirituality, and what allowed me, say, to be at a Chabad where they were speaking about the concept of finding the hidden spark within everything. On a table, you could use it to learn Torah, and that you're elevating the hidden spark within it, and the concept that godliness is really within everything, and we just need to reveal it and bring it out, because really the whole world is one with Hashem. And another point that I want to respond to is that Judaism is all about oneness, but you'll notice there's also a concept of duality, right? We have tov v'ra, good and bad. We have chesed and gevura, giving and discipline, or withdrawing. And I think it's an important point is that there's good and bad in the world, and we say Hashem is yotzer or uvore choshech. Hashem forms light and creates bad. So you already see there's a distinction between good and bad. We don't say it's like half and half. It's not exactly a religion of duality, like a yin and yang sort of approach. But there's a fundamental concept that there is a certain duality in the world, and that our job is to reveal that really it's just oneness, to take the chesed and the gevura, and to show that really the tova ra, to understand the gamzu latova, say, to understand that everything is really for our good. It seems like there's good and bad, but really we realize that even the bad things that happen to us are the Ribono Shel Olam giving to us and helping us to grow and to come closer to Him. And that's, a fundamentally Jewish concept. And we also see when a person davens, the Mishnah Berurah does say that a person should daven in the way that they have kavana in terms of what they're doing with their hands or but there's the poskim bring the halachic decisors, the decisors of law bring that a person should daven with the left hand in the right hand, because it's chesed over gevurah. We see that contained within all of the discipline, within all of the difficulty it's really just good. Everything is really Hashem, and so too we prioritize the right over the left, even size that. Really, it seems sort of like a dual world, but it's really just Hashem. We have the names Hashem and Elohim, and we want to show that really they're both Hashem. And so that's really the concept. And the thing that's interesting is you see in the physics that this is the right model for duality. See, there's a concept within nature called antiparticles. You may be familiar. Just like there is an electron, there's a positron. Just like there is an up quark, there's an anti-up quark. Every fundamental particle in the universe has a antiparticle. There's nothing in the universe where there doesn't exist an antiparticle for it. Antimatter is what they call it. And it's interesting because what we don't see is that everything is just particles. That would be, a religion that only has oneness. So that, in a sense, would be what you might expect to see in the universe. We also don't see a mix between there's particles and antiparticles, and they're all around us. That we don't see, actually. And that would be the physical model that would reflect a religion that's truly a dualistic religion. What we see is that at the beginning of the universe there was matter and antimatter, and there's ways to form antimatter, but when matter and antimatter collide, they turn and they destroy each other. And there is some force that people are trying to understand called CP violation that at the early universe made it such that all the antimatter is gone and the matter does exist, that there's some process, some mechanism that physicists haven't quite understood yet that's machriya bein zeh ubein zeh, and makes it that when these different reactions occur, such as kaon decay, that there's a preference for matter. There's something that brings it about, so that it reveals that really all there is, and it brings out only matter at the end of the day. And so that's sort of an interesting way that that things are reflected in Judaism. And I encourage you to see in the book where I speak about this insight from the Vilna Gaon that covers all of physics that really corresponds to this concept of duality and unity and how they mesh together. And I do believe that of all of the the religions I'm familiar with, that the one that resonates more with modern physics than anything is Judaism. Thank God.